Thank you everyone for coming. Just as a word of apology, my voice is obviously not up to full strength. I'm just recovering from an infection. And so I apologize for that. For some reason, my throat doesn't hurt. It's just my voice is gone. So I will try to make sure I can speak up. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
If not, you can let him know.
Yeah, if not, you let me know.
He's right there.
Yeah. So just wave your hand. Speak up. So what I wanted to do is really, of course, share some information that we learned from our last MOOC that we designed, but also hopefully provide people with an opportunity to ask questions. That's what we kind of refer to as a roundtable, because we wanted to give everyone that comes a chance to ask any questions you want, to pick our brains if you want to about this topic. So at any time during this time, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them out there. Related or not to what I'm talking about, as long as they're about MOOCs, we will try our best to answer them. If the answer is, we don't know, but we will try our best to share with you what we've learned. The background for this is that when I came onto the Link Lab team, I was brought in as first as an instructional designer for the last MOOC that was offered, which is the Data Analytics and Learning MOOC. And then after becoming the instructional designer for that, then I was brought into the Link Lab team. So I helped with the instructional design side. I also helped with the social media side. I also helped with a few various different aspects of it. And of course, the lead instructor is also here, George Siemens, so you can also pick his brain. Any questions that you have for him about the MOOC, you'd like to answer. And so really wanted to look at this as an opportunity to share what we've learned. The good, the bad, and the interesting, and sometimes the ugly. So basically I thought I'd just kind of organize it around the different areas that was shared in the description. We talked about content quality issues, technology issues, limitations and possibilities, participant engagement, and then the dual layer design that we took. So people just stepped out, so I guess since we have kind of a small group, I just wanted to quickly find out. Some of you I know, but I just wanted, if you could real quickly introduce yourself and what your interest in MOOCs are.
Hello, I'm Dana Owens. Some of you may know me as Dana Arrowwood. I got married, my name's changed. I teach in curriculum and instruction.
Are you thinking of offering a MOOC? Have you offered it?
No, but I do teach the large AP classes.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like a MOOC.
Yeah, yeah, very close.
I'm Brad Gulliford from the library, where I've been put in charge of data management and curation, although they don't really know what that is. And so I'm here to see how library services and other things like that will support and how they would deploy in something so large, because if we have, security locks and that kind of stuff, as well as see how well we can foster an interactive environment, because that's the way people are accessing information now. They're not just plugging on, getting a PDF and reading the article passively. But so we know when you got 3,000 people all over the world. Yeah.
I'm Sam Haynes. I'm in the history department, and I'm the director of the Center for Greater Southwestern Studies. And I'm thinking about, with another history professor, offering an online course in Texas history. So we're really just thinking about it and sort of moving forward this semester. So this is, we really are novices in this. We have a lot to learn about this.
We still have a lot to learn too, so it's an ongoing process. I think it's still such a new idea. People are trying to figure out exactly, where it fits. I mean, it's based on a lot of older ideas that are kind of put in a new context. So. And of course, we have.
Sorry, I was eating.
I've got good timing here with the eating.
I'm Laurel Mayo. I'm the director.
Wow.
Excuse me.
So. And also we have.
I'm Justin Dellinger. I'm the research coordinator.
And of course,
George Siemens also.
And
I'm the button pusher. I'm Brett Benham. I'm the button pusher. Trying to keep the cameras awake.
They keep falling asleep. We're trying to make this technology work for us. Sometimes it is not cooperating.
Seems to have been giving some rough day today on the cameras.
Yes. You know, one of the things that I was thinking of, Matt, is that there's no one flavor of MOOC. There seem to be so many different ways to engage in this particular way of presenting material and interacting with people and connecting people, that it's not just a one-size-fits-all thing. So it's kind of an exciting thing, I think, with MOOCs, that they can be so different, and you can design them to respond to what your needs are.
Oh, yes, definitely. I just saw an article this week. They're starting a new type of MOOC, the badged open course. They dropped the massive. I guess the open is just the badged open course, badged online course or something like that. So there's all kinds of interesting flavors to where you're actually working for a badge out of your course, and that's your specific goal. So all kinds of different ideas. Well, the first area where I wanted to talk about that we had mentioned in the description was about the content quality issues. This was an interesting, almost eye-opening one for us with the MOOC, because I think in the past people, we've just thought, well, it's a MOOC, you don't like it, you can get your money back. It's free, so you can't complain about the quality. But we found, unfortunately, that the people did complain about the quality if it wasn't good enough quality, even though they were taking it for free. And we actually didn't necessarily have low quality content. We actually had we had a few issues here and there, but we had some fairly good video content. We had some very good graphics and stuff like that, but there were still complaints about it. People didn't like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the syllabus. We can talk about that later. People didn't like certain things about videos. People didn't like certain things about overall quality. So it was an eye-opening experience to us. We found out that the expectations of quality in MOOCs have really risen over the past few years, what they were especially even just a year or two ago. And of course, you've got George, who's of course involved in the very first MOOC, and he was even surprised in one of his blog posts about the content quality. What was some of the posts that you were surprised about? What was the exact one that, or?
There's so many more that I think Matt actually summed it up best. So one of the things that Matt will probably talk about later is the main innovation that we had was a dual layer approach, moving away from only instruct to this technical approach and something more adaptive. Matt captured it well when he said, here's 12 options. Choose the one you hate most and complain about it. Or some such variant. We had designed it in such a way that people should be able to go wherever they wanted to. So take what you want. But no, it was, and then one of the interesting that came out of it was Ryan Baker, who was also one of the teachers in the course. He's working on an article with a colleague based on his first MOOC. And we all, I thought it was quite a negative MOOC. Dragon and Carolyn, and I'm not sure what your orientation was on it, Matt. But we all felt there was a lot of things happening here. And then Ryan said, oh, this is easy. The first MOOC he had done with Coursera, he said it was brutal. It actually prompted him to write an article on negativity toward faculty members of open courses. So, yeah, I wouldn't know if there's anything specific that I would say really stuck out, but just the general view that people who didn't like it didn't engage to help solve it. In the past with courses that we've done, we've always had this mindset. It's an open course, which means if something doesn't work for you, you create the solution and share it with others. Whereas in this case, it was just like, I don't like this, I hate this.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, and someone even recently wrote like a huge long blog post about everything I didn't know because of based on what they saw. Like 3 tweets that I did, and so that's just kind of not to scare you off, but just kind of a warning that this is out in the open, and that could include everyone out there. And as we all know, the internet, just go into the comments section on a lot of web pages and you see that it's not, people aren't always nice or helpful. People want to tell me that I've done things wrong as long as they're helpful with it. I don't care. They tell me stuff I don't know when they have no idea if I really know it or not, just because of one tweet. And that's a little crazy. But that's one thing to be ready for. Another thing that we found is that our learners, as far as the content quality, they also were expecting the entire course to be ready from the very beginning. We often get in this mindset in college, especially, that we can kind of get the course started and then just kind of add the content as we go along. But we ran into a lot of learner anxiety when they came in there and the content wasn't there. They're asking, where's the content? But we're still developing it. We're kind of doing the typical college thing where we're just still developing it.
Oh.
But so what we found is that part of that openness in the MOOC is that people are expecting to see all the content from the course from the very beginning. And if they don't see it, they really start to panic a little bit because they want to know where we're going, because a lot of them are there to pick and choose the pieces that they want. And so they want to know where they're going so they would know where they would participate, or if they were going to stick for the whole thing, or if they were going to do the beginning or just the end. And so that was one of the other things kind of, because I didn't think it'd be that bad if we just kind of rolled the content out as we went along, but then there was all these people complaining about it. And so you can put a joke about it on MOOC about, people saying that, I'm not afraid of down MOOC, and I had Yoda up there going, you will be, once the content's out there, but they were very, very stressed that they couldn't see that content. So the lesson learned is that we really needed to start earlier, make sure that we get the content done before the first day of class and get everything going.
What do you think, based on your experience as a learning designer, you can talk a little bit about, I look at most MOOCs that I've taken, it is very, even well-developed, well-designed, run 3 times MOOCs still launch weekly.
Yeah.
Right, so you don't get the whole 8, 12 weeks worth. So what's your take on it? How should something like that be handled, knowing that some subset of students want it all, but in some cases you give it all and all of a sudden you're having week 4 discussions at the end of week 1.
Right, yeah, there's the ideal and there's the reality of, we really would like to have everything done in advance, but then life happens, right? I think that really if you could have that first week or so of content, not just the welcome to class, but that first week, I think that was probably a little bit of the stresses that we had we kind of pushed it up to the end to get the first week or 2 in there. And I think if that can be there at the beginning, that would have solved some of the worries that I've heard. For others, they probably would have just liked a much more detailed outline than we had. And that was kind of a surprise to me too, because you come into a college course and you can kind of give a vague outline and people seem to be a bit happy with what that is. But there are other people out there that seem to want more detail than was in that vague outline of I guess, weekly topics. So I think if you find a happy medium of, if you can't get all the content online before it starts, if you can at least get a detailed outline of more than just the general topics, but more of the specifics that you're going to go into, that would probably potentially ease some of that. I think some people, if it's just not all there, they're just going to still be mad. You just got to be ready for that. Can't make everyone happy.
Oh, I suppose it depends on whether you feel that they need to be guided through, like you need to do this first before you do this. How much guidance do you want to provide, or do you want to let them just have at it,
Yeah.
Depending, I suppose, on what the topic is.
Probably the longer the class too, if you're going for 4 or 5 weeks, you're probably, not going to get as much anxiety. People want to look at 9, 10, 12 weeks in advance. That might give them some anxiety if they want to know it's 12 weeks down the road, they're not for sure, So that's another one where there's kind of the ideal, but then, there's life that happens. We get busy. And then we also just wanted to throw this out there that since, working at UTA, you're thinking about doing a MOOC, we do have staff here that can help you produce professional quality material with the videos, with the content, things like that. We highly encourage you to take advantage of their staff. Brett and other people who know what to do with video, know what to do with content and other services. Please talk with them, get their input, and follow it, because they really know what they're talking about. And sometimes time gets the best of you, but we really highly encourage anyone who wants to do a MOOC to seek out those professionals and ask them for help, and then take their advice, because they really will be able to help you kind of reach that higher quality level that the students or the participants are now coming to expect with these courses. Anyone have any more questions on content? That's okay. No, it's fine.
So I suppose the length of them is it just depends, right? They're not all particular length. They could be as short as, do they do them in a day, a week, or something like that? Have you seen any of those?
A MOOC that's like a day long. I don't know. Are there any day long MOOCs?
It's hard to have we've had the one MOOC that we ran, which we don't even call it a MOOC, it's more of a conference, but it ran 3 days, 2 days on corporate MOOCs.
Oh, right.
So it almost seems, this is I guess part of the issue with MOOCs. I mean, at what point is it just a massive open conference rather than an actual course? I'm not sure. I've never seen anything that runs a day, and if it was a day, I don't know if I'd call it necessarily. There's a lot of examples of, let's say, WebEx or whatever is out there. They run a conference for Cisco online, and you might have 5,000 people there. So it gets down to what makes the course part of a MOOC relevant, because they used to be 8 to 12 weeks. Now a lot of them are 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to keep in mind with MOOCs, and people are taking them a lot of times in their free time and their spare time with their busy work schedules. If you're planning to go for 12 to 13 weeks, you're probably going to see a lot of people drop out by the end of it. You know, the longer you go, the more. So, you know, if you really have to complex of a topic, you can maybe consider doing 2 MOOCs rather than one long MOOC. You know, and just spread it out maybe a little bit longer or something. You know. There's obviously topics that can be covered in 13 weeks or more, but you know, just the nature of what MOOCs are, you're probably going to lose a lot more students the longer you go. I'd say probably about 5 or 6 weeks, maybe. It's probably a good average. But like you said, it's been dropping recently. I
ran a 35-week MOOC in 2011.
35?
It was horrible. But yeah, and we had participation, but we had come and go participation. We'd have some people who disappear for 12 weeks, and all of a sudden they'd show up again.
Kind of becomes more of a community, really.
It could have, but the way we did is we invited 35 academics that we knew that were well regarded in various fields of academics, learning, education, we gave each of them a week. So the nice thing is you could skip 3 months of the course. Take 6 months, and it would be just as satisfying. But yeah, I guess that's really the question starts to look at is how much, you know, as folks have said, every letter in the acronym is negotiable. And so, you know, how long should a course be? Even though anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks is probably now the norm, there's still a few that go 12. What happens if you go longer? Do you get sort of the DS 106 community feel that just sort of exists continually?
That's what people want, you know, to continue to learn after the course.
One of the difficulties, though, especially with DS 106, is that at a certain point, the people who are prominent in the community, they've got their own in-jokes, they've got their own sense of humor, and also if you come at it cold, it seems a bit inaccessible because you're not part of the in-crowd. Whereas a MOOC, every time it starts, everybody in theory is at the same stage.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Looks like what some of them are doing now, that would be more of a traditional topic of study in a long semester, is they're breaking them up into 2 or 3 or 4 sections, and you can take just that one discrete part, and then you can take the next part, and then the next part, to keep that shorter length of time. How long was the one that
It was 9 weeks. And we had pretty good participation till about
Brian killed a lot.
yeah, about 5 or 6.
What
yeah.
week was he in?
He started week 5, and but I mean, he's true to form. He taught this course at Teachers College the first time that he taught most of his topic. He started with 35 students. I think he had 3 that completed.
Wow!
But it was brutal. So students walk in, and because he was an education faculty, and all of a sudden you're getting hit with advanced data analytics and machine learning techniques, and so. And he didn't think anything of it until his dean pulled him aside and said, "That's not how we like to do things at Teachers College." So he had to reboot. But And that's another thing, like, in theory, we structured this as well. Like, one of the things we tried to do was chunk it, so that if you wanted week 1 and 2 from an overview, you could do that, and then you could skip. So we skip weeks 3 to 6 and pick up Carolyn's work on discourse analysis in week 7 and 8. So we didn't have bad participation. We had 20, I think in total, 20-some thousand students that did register, which means very little. But yeah, I was just surprised at how much the mentality of a course existed for students. It's like, oh, week 2 I'm behind, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, I didn't know something.
It doesn't matter. Pick it up week 3, it starts again, it's a totally different topic.
Try to get caught up by, okay, you know, just skip to the end if you want to, you know. Does it matter to you if you're caught up or not? If not, then just skip. You know. At some point, I was also thinking that we just, instead of calling these courses, we just call these things. And they become MOOCs, so then, you know. But,
Or happening, somebody tried to describe it as a happening. Yeah.
massive open online happening. Yeah, there's a lot of those out there. I think someone started a wiki where they start collecting all the various variations. There's also the SOOC, or the small open online.
Spocks were there.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we had a Chinese scholar in. What do they call them? UMOOCs.
UMOOC.
Ubiquitous MOOCs.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, it's like the acronym that just keeps on giving. I mean, eventually I want every letter of the alphabet covered. I don't know what the Z will be. The ZooMOOC?
I think someone started a wiki to try and figure that out. They covered every letter of the
Should be
alphabet.
able
Yeah,
to.
we need to find that. That'd be interesting. So let's move on and talk about the technology issues that we ran into, because that was a huge part of the prep work there. That kind of walloped us there a little bit when we ran into the technology, the video parts, because first of all, the videos need to be professionally shot. No webcams at your desk with the backlight, and people can't really hear what you're saying. Things like that, because the students wanted the high quality videos. But then second of all, also the captioning of the videos. This just came up last week and someone filed a lawsuit against edX because some of their videos weren't captioned, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So,
So their videos weren't what?
captioned. They didn't have closed captioning.
Oh.
Yeah, they weren't accessible. So that's something we've been warning ourselves about for years. That I don't know where this lawsuit's going to go, but that's something to be aware of. Is that people want to try and get your videos captioned. We did find a good captioning service. Pete Smith can recommend that to you. They had a very fast turnaround. But we also found, though, that the edX system, if you're planning on using that, they use one specific format of captioning, and the service that we used initially didn't offer that. We asked for it, and they turned around and gave it to us. But it's also kind of a weird thing because it's an SRT file is what it's called. And it's apparently a very well-recognized format. And we're like, why don't they offer that? So, but
Hangouts. Do you want to talk a little bit about Hangouts and the complaints we had about captioning?
yeah, well, the Hangouts.
Oh, you had captioning
In
with that?
Hangouts?
That's the
Well, there were a lot of issues with the Hangouts. Let's talk about it. Well, because the Hangouts were a good idea to interact and let people come talk with us. Google is very user-friendly unless you kind of step away from it for a week and they change everything. So we're kind of scrambling to figure out how to use it again. We've all used it, but they changed everything. And then we wanted to have live sessions where people could ask us questions until we found that there was a good 30-second to minute delay between what was live and what was broadcast. And that's pretty significant because people ask a question and you're trying to answer and it's coming through a minute later. It's very, very difficult.
So Hangout
captioning
is what?
specifically. Right?
Chat, like a chat?
Oh, sorry, it's a video chat system. They have like Skype or those and things like that. Sorry. But then the specific issue with captioning with that is just that they're very, very long. The Hangouts end up being like 30 minutes to an hour long, and it's very, very expensive. And then you have to kind of caption them after the fact. When you do a video, you might have a script that you can then turn into the caption. It saves you a little time. But then just sending these hour-long videos off to get captions becomes very, very expensive. And Google Hangouts will record what you're doing and save it as a video later. So it's great for the MOOC environment because people will be coming from around the world. We had people from 180 countries, was it?
The exact number, but it was a lot. Yeah.
180 different countries had signed up for this MOOC. So all different time zones. And that was the problem of the Hangouts. We tried to schedule at different times during the day, but people were still like, that's still 4 a.m. my time zone. You know, so they're like, well, you know, sorry, but
You
we're
mean,
not.
George, you weren't ready to get up at 2 o'clock to have a hangout?
I didn't sleep for 9 weeks.
Uh-huh.
I was on Hangouts the whole time.
You know, and they asked us, we're sorry, but, you know, we kind of, like everyone else in academia, we run around the clock anyway. We need at least like 2 hours of sleep. Come on, you know. So the good thing about Google Hangouts is to record it later. You can watch it later just as a YouTube video. That's the way the service works. But in needing the captioning, it just gets expensive to caption those things. And we also did at least 1, sometimes 2 per week Hangouts. So we ended up like probably 18 hours of Hangouts that could have been captioned, which we haven't.
That's part of the challenge is you can, it's much easier to do preparation work in advance and get captioning done on that. It's much more challenging if you're holding an hour and a half worth of live discussions each week. And then because of the captioning turnaround, so usually what we do with Hangouts, the moment you're done, you have a link. So it would be posted in the next day's email, it would be posted in a discussion forum or on the recording stage. The site that Matt has there. But it could take, if we were to caption those, it could take several days to even a week, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's a turnaround.
So captioning the live video is something that we didn't do well, and I don't know if there is a way to do it without having a pretty nice budget to do a 6-hour turnaround.
Yeah, they will do speed turnaround, but it costs, you know, goes up exponentially. And then there was the, and then there's, you know, was the thing with the edX captions, they actually have a very nice system for the videos playing here and the words, I don't know if you've ever seen it, the words are going next to it as it's being spoken. So it's a very nice system, and I understand that the students like it because they can actually search to the video just with keywords, and, you know, and it'll go right to the line in the video. And it's a very nice system. So it's not just something it's just for accessibility. All students that end up using it kind of end up liking it because and you can just scroll through the lines there and find something you want, actually click on it, it'll go to that spot in the video, and you start playing from there. So if you kind of remember like the last thing you heard before you like, whatever, you know, you can scroll back to it and click onto it. But, so, you know, that's another thing that is, yes, it's necessary for accessibility, but it also provides a good tool that other learners also like, so. Let's see what's.
Like search found the later in archive, that's what Johns Hopkins was videoing surgeries. And for people to come back years later and say, you know, what was that? You know, how did you detect that rib or something? Look up the word and the caption. Otherwise, you'd have to sit there and watch hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's still kind of one of the weaknesses of video is they're not always easily searchable. Someday I'm sure we'll crack that code, but Siri will help us out. Siri, can you find where he said? Let's see, what else did we learn? Oh, we also jumped in with a lot of experimental technology. Yeah. And that's always great. Obviously, I would not get into ed tech if I don't like experimental technology. The thing is that for each new piece you introduce, you're going to have an exponential number of stress among your students, which you know in your classes, but in a MOOC environment, it just kind of spreads virally sometimes throughout the internet. So while I encourage you to feel free to experiment with things, you also want to be prepared. I think a few of the initial things we weren't necessarily prepared for what happened if it just didn't work or just kind of fell flat. So you can get all the guarantees that you want to from the people that are working on this new stuff that's going to work, but still have your plan B. You still have something else that goes in there. And also, if it's at all possible, I would say if you don't have to point out as much as it's a new technology, a new thing, if you can just kind of streamline it as much as possible, that may not be possible, but if it is, I think that us kind of pointing out a lot of it sometimes may have kind of pulled the hype a little bit bigger in some people's minds. Some of the tools we use could have just been folded into the flow of the work as kind of a discussion forum or a help tool or something like that. But at the same time, it was it was good for the students to know that it was there too in case it blew up. So it's kind of, you kind of just have to weigh the tool that you might be using and see, what would be the pro and con for that. But it seems like every time there's a MOOC, there's a discussion of some new tool that might come along with it, whether it's engineering's using the some kind of writing tool, or there's just different things that sometimes get thrown in with these MOOCs. So just something to keep in mind is that those have your plan B. And then also, we didn't necessarily find that everything that we wanted to do in edX worked the way that we wanted to. So, and we asked edX, they're fine with it. So we went the kind of do-it-yourself route with several things. So we actually installed WordPress on a server and created a syllabus that looked more like what we were interested in doing, which is the visual syllabus. George is saying, most syllabus, you just come in and you run into this wall of text, and students, if you're sitting in a traditional college class, your teacher will walk you through it, okay? And so that's one thing, but if you're going on an online course and no one walking through it, they can get very lost and confused very easily. So let's look at doing a visual syllabus. And so edX's tools weren't quite robust enough for that. They worked with WordPress in the past, so we actually went out and set up our own WordPress installation. That's what you're looking at here on this screen, is the visual syllabus idea that came. This is basically a WordPress theme that we kind of tinkered with to make it look like this, and we put together for visual purposes.
I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great addition, and you did a great job on it, Matt. And then no sooner do we think we had a great initiative, and someone comes along and says, pictures don't match the content. And you really do have to learn to just, take your compliments from your peers, because they're the ones that, or even your criticism. But if somebody randomly that you've never met says they don't like your pictures, yeah, I thought it was a great contribution. It did work on it. It was a nice interface. It was, quick skim over. You see what's happening in the course. There's everything in one space. So it sort of served as an aggregation hub of sorts for all the tools and all the content and so on. But
one of the complaints was someone's like, I don't know where to start. Number one.
maybe they're in a society that reads
And we also picked this metaphor. If you can do something that kind of gives metaphors or personality or something to your class, it can really help students connect with you as a teacher and as a professor. We were looking at the MOOC. You can take the traditional route of being guided by a professor, watching the videos, answering the questions, or you can take the more connectivist route of network learning and picking and choosing what interests you and blogging and stuff like that. So we use the matrix metaphor, red pill, blue pill. So that's why you see pictures from the matrix up there like that. And and the thing about the criticism, as I noticed, is that when people give praise, it's kind of like general praise. That's really cool. I like that. When they don't like something, they give very specific criticisms. I don't like the matrix thing. That's just too judgmental. So that's an exact word someone used for that. And so it seems like the negative stuff kind of sticks more in your mind because it's sometimes more specific than the praise, and that's what's a bit hard to take from that. So.
Actually, I think there's a condition called post-moose stress disorder. MSD.
It's like, which pill's better? The judgmental part of it. Both are neither.
Yeah. I clearly said that in the matrix, I know one's better than the other, but I said that's where the metaphor breaks down. I pointed that out. But so, and would you mind going to the second part so we show them? Parts. Yeah. So we're talking about by this dual layer approach, just for real quick, for people who didn't see it, is that people could choose whether they wanted to go through the more traditional route of being guided, instructivism, route of going through the edX content with helpers and bazaars and stuff like that, or if they wanted to go more of a connective social learning route and connect with people through a tool called ProSolo, which kind of resembles academic Facebook, I guess, around competencies, where you share what you're working on, people can comment on it, rate it, tell you how well you did. Where you are in more, it's more student-centered, it's more instructor-centered. We provided a path for both of them. Students could choose either one. or both, or kind of weave back and forth depending on this week I want this one, this week I want this one, this week I want both. They could choose which one they felt was best for the specific topic for that week.
Especially if you felt more, if you knew the knowledge, the material better. There you go. Yes.
Yes, since we're covering especially a field, data analytics, where some people know some things, or they may not know anything, or they may, know this or that. They could definitely, choose what they would do for the parts that they